The sound of shattered glass echoed through our living room as I hurled the vase against the wall. It exploded into 1,000 glittering shards, scattering across the floor like stars in a universe gone dark. Emily stood frozen in the center of the chaos, her eyes wide with shock and her hands trembling at her sides. "I can't believe you," I shouted, my voice raw with a mix of rage and anguish. "How could you do this to us?" Emily flinched at the accusation, her gaze darting around as if searching for an escape from the reality crashing down around us. Her silence was deafening, a confirmation of the worst suspicions that had been gnawing at my gut for weeks now. I paced back and forth, adrenaline coursing through my veins like a torrential river. Memories of our once happy life together flashed before my eyes, the laughter, the dreams we shared, the promises made under starlit skies. But now, those moments felt like fragile illusions shattered by her betrayal. "You've been lying to me," I said, my voice quieter now but laced with an intensity that cut through the air like a knife. "Tell me the truth, Emily, please." Her lower lip trembled as she finally spoke, her words barely above a whisper. "I'm sorry, James, I didn't mean for this to happen." Her apology hung in the air, hollow and insufficient against the backdrop of deceit and pain. I closed my eyes, trying to steady my trembling hands as I struggled to comprehend the enormity of her confession. "Who is he?" I demanded, my voice rising again despite my efforts to remain calm. Emily hesitated, her eyes flickering with guilt. "His name is William Crawford," she admitted, her voice cracking with emotion. He promised me things, James. Things I thought we needed." I felt a surge of hot anger rise within me, threatening to consume everything in its path. I clenched my fists, the urge to lash out almost overwhelming. But I held back, forcing myself to take a deep breath. "You chose money over us," I said quietly, my words heavy with resignation. "I never thought you were capable of this, Emily." Tears welled up in her eyes as she reached out a trembling hand toward me. "James, please." I stepped back, out of her reach, my heart breaking into a million pieces. "Get out," I said, my voice trembling with pain. "I need time to think." Emily stood there for a moment, her expression torn between remorse and defiance. Then, without another word, she turned and walked out of our home, leaving me alone with the wreckage of our shattered life. As the echoes of her footsteps faded into silence, I sank to the floor, the weight of betrayal crushing me like a vice. How could I ever trust again? And what would I do now that everything I believed in had been torn apart by the woman I loved? Emily and I met in college, a whirlwind romance sparked by shared laughter and late-night conversations. She was vibrant, with a smile that could light up a room, and I was drawn to her energy like a moth to a flame. We were young and in love, dreaming of a future filled with happiness and possibilities. Our wedding day was a blur of joy and celebration, surrounded by friends and family who cheered us on as we embarked on our journey together. I still remember the look in Emily's eyes as she walked down the aisle, radiant in her white dress, her hand trembling slightly in mine. In the early years of our marriage we faced challenges but always leaned on each other for support. We rented a tiny apartment and worked odd jobs to make ends meet, dreaming of the day when we would have our own place and stable careers. Emily was passionate about art, and I worked in construction, our paths intertwined by love and determination. We saved every penny, scrimped and saved, and eventually bought a modest house on the outskirts of town. It wasn't much, but it was ours, a symbol of our commitment to each other and our dreams for the future. We painted the walls together, planted a garden in the backyard, and filled the rooms with laughter and love. As the years passed, our bond grew deeper, strengthened by shared experiences, and the joy of raising our two children, Tommy and Lily. Emily was an amazing mother, patient and loving, her laughter ringing through the house as she played with them in the backyard or read them bedtime stories. I cherished those moments, the simple pleasures of family dinners and Sunday afternoons spent at the park. We had our disagreements, of course, but they were always resolved with open communication and a willingness to compromise. Our love seemed unshakable, a foundation built on trust and mutual respect. But beneath the surface, cracks were beginning to form. I noticed Emily becoming more distant, her smile sometimes forced, her laughter tinged with sadness. She started spending more time away from home, claiming she was attending art classes or meeting with friends. I trusted her, believing in the strength of our marriage and the love we shared. Little did I know, those moments of distance were the first signs of a storm brewing on the horizon, a storm that would threaten to destroy everything we had worked so hard to build. The first hint of unease crept into my heart during a quiet evening at home. Emily had gone out for what she said was a quick coffee with friends from her art class. It was supposed to be a short outing, but the hours stretched on, and when she finally returned, her smile seemed forced, her explanation vague. I brushed it off at first, attributing it to exhaustion or perhaps stress from her art projects. But as the weeks passed, similar occurrences became more frequent. Emily would be unreachable for hours, claiming poor cell service or lost track of time. Each time, her excuses became less convincing, and a gnawing feeling of unease settled in the pit of my stomach. I started noticing subtle changes in her behavior. She became more secretive with her phone, always keeping it face down or tucked away in her purse. Her interest in luxury items and expensive clothing grew, even though we had always lived modestly within our means. Small, seemingly insignificant details began to add up, forming a troubling pattern that I couldn't ignore. One evening, I stumbled upon a text message on Emily's phone that sent a chill down my spine. It was from a contact labeled simply as WC. The message was innocuous enough on the surface, but there was an underlying familiarity in their exchanges that raised my suspicions. I confronted Emily gently, trying to keep my voice steady despite the turmoil raging inside me. She grew defensive at first, accusing me of invading her privacy and not trusting her. But when I pressed her for an explanation, her defenses crumbled, and tears filled her eyes. I met someone, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. His name is William Crawford. He's been helping me with my art projects. Her words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken implications. I felt a knot tighten in my chest as I struggled to process the revelation. William Crawford, the name sounded vaguely familiar, a wealthy philanthropist known for his support of the arts. I remembered seeing his name in the local news, attending charity events and hosting lavish fundraisers. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked, my voice tinged with hurt. Emily hesitated, her gaze dropping to the floor. I didn't think it was important," she murmured, her fingers twisting nervously in her lap. The truth hit me like a sledgehammer. Emily had been hiding her interactions with William Crawford, a man of wealth and influence. The pieces of the puzzle fell into place with a sickening clarity. The sudden interest in expensive gifts, the secretive meetings, the lies. I wanted to believe it was all a misunderstanding, that Emily had innocently fallen into a mentorship with William Crawford. But deep down I knew there was more to the story, a betrayal that threatened to unravel everything we had built together. Days turned into restless nights as I wrestled with doubts and suspicions, unable to shake the sinking feeling that something was amiss. Emily's interactions with William Crawford continued to haunt me, each unanswered question deepening the rift between us. One evening, as I was cleaning up after dinner, Emily's phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. Instinctively I glanced at the screen, expecting to see a notification from one of her art group chats. Instead, there was a message preview from William Crawford, a name that now filled me with dread. I hesitated for a moment, battling the urge to invade her privacy once again. But the weight of uncertainty was too heavy to ignore. With trembling hands I unlocked her phone and opened the conversation thread. What I found was a series of messages that confirmed my worst fears. The exchanges were intimate, filled with veiled references and promises that cut through me like a knife. My heart pounded in my chest as I scrolled through the words that exposed the depth of Emily's betrayal. "She's seeing him," I whispered to myself, the realization bitter on my tongue. The evidence was undeniable, a betrayal that shattered the fragile trust we had built over years of marriage. I confronted Emily later that night, my voice hoarse with disbelief and anger. She tried to deny it at first, her words stumbling over half-hearted explanations. But as I presented the damning evidence, her defenses crumbled, and tears streamed down her face. "I'm sorry," she sobbed, her voice raw with guilt. "I didn't mean for this to happen." Her apology fell on deaf ears as anger surged through me, mixing with a profound sense of hurt and betrayal. I demanded answers, wanting to understand how she could throw away everything we had for the sake of a fleeting affair with a wealthy older man. He made me feel special, she admitted, her words a painful admission of her weakness. He promised me things, James. Things I thought we needed. The truth cut through me like a blade. Emily had been seduced by the allure of wealth and privilege, her loyalty swayed by promises of a life that glittered with luxury. I struggled to comprehend how the woman I loved could have strayed so far from the values we had shared. The silence that followed was heavy with unspoken accusations and shattered dreams. Emily begged for forgiveness, her words a desperate plea for a second chance. But the wounds were too fresh, the pain too raw to consider reconciliation. I need time, I finally said, my voice barely above a whisper. I need time to think. Emily nodded silently, her shoulders slumped with defeat. As she walked away, I was left alone in the wreckage of our shattered life, grappling with the harsh reality of a marriage torn apart by betrayal and greed. The days that followed Emily's confession were a blur of emotional turmoil and sleepless nights. I found myself trapped in a whirlwind of conflicting emotions, disbelief, anger, and heartbreak mingled together in a storm that threatened to engulf me. Images of Emily and William Crawford together haunted my thoughts, each mental picture a fresh stab to my wounded heart. I replayed their conversations in my mind, trying to decipher where our marriage had gone wrong, searching for signs I had missed. "Why did you do it, Emily?" I muttered to myself, the question echoing in the empty rooms of our once happy home. The silence that greeted me offered no answers, only a painful reminder of the void that now existed between us. I withdrew into myself, retreating from friends and family who reached out with concern. Their words of comfort felt hollow against the ache of betrayal that gnawed at my soul. I immersed myself in work, throwing myself into construction projects with a feverish intensity that left me physically exhausted, but offered no respite from the emotional turmoil within. Nights were the worst. Sleep eluded me, replaced by restless tossing and turning as I wrestled with nightmares of Emily's infidelity. The bed we had once shared felt cold and unfamiliar, a cruel reminder of the intimacy we had lost. I found myself obsessing over the details of her affair, replaying conversations and imagining scenarios that only fueled my anguish. Each revelation cut deeper, eroding the trust and love that had once bound us together. Why wasn't I enough? I wondered aloud, the question a bitter knot in my throat. In my darkest moments I blamed myself for failing to meet Emily's needs, for allowing our marriage to unravel before my eyes. But beneath the self-doubt simmered a simmering rage. Anger burned hot and fierce, a wildfire that threatened to consume everything in its path. I smashed plates against the kitchen wall, the sound of shattering porcelain a release for the pent-up fury that threatened to suffocate me. Through it all, I struggled to reconcile the woman I had loved with the person who had betrayed me. The memories of our shared laughter and tender moments clashed violently with the image of Emily in the arms of another man. The pain was a constant companion, a heavy weight that settled over my chest and refused to lift. Yet amid the turmoil, a small voice whispered of hope. Hope for healing, for a future where the wounds of betrayal might one day fade. But for now, I was lost in the storm, adrift in a sea of emotions that threatened to drown me in their depths. The decision simmered within me like a slow-burning ember, fueled by a mixture of pain, anger, and a desperate need for justice. As days turned into weeks and the initial shock of Emily's betrayal began to settle, a steely resolve took root in my heart. I couldn't erase the images of Emily with William Crawford from my mind. Their intimacy, their whispered promises, they mocked the vows we had exchanged on our wedding day. The thought of them enjoying stolen moments together while I was left to pick up the shattered pieces of our life filled me with a cold fury. I began to meticulously gather evidence, piecing together the puzzle of Emily's affair with careful precision. Phone records, emails, and receipts became my allies in a battle for truth and retribution. I documented every suspicious transaction, every clandestine meeting, building a damning case against them. The more I uncovered, the clearer the betrayal became. Emily's infidelity was not just a momentary lapse in judgment, but a calculated choice driven by greed and ambition. William Crawford, with his wealth and influence, had preyed upon her vulnerabilities, promising a life of luxury that she had deemed worth sacrificing our marriage for. I consulted with lawyers, exploring my options for divorce and seeking advice on how best to protect our children's future. Custody battles loomed on the horizon, a heartbreaking consequence of Emily's betrayal that I had to prepare for. But beyond legal recourse, a darker thought took root in my mind, a thirst for revenge that burned like acid in my veins. I wanted to expose them, to strip away the facade of respectability that shielded William Crawford from the consequences of his actions. He had flaunted his wealth and power, believing himself untouchable. I would prove him wrong. The plan took shape slowly, methodically. I reached out to mutual acquaintances, subtly planting seeds of doubt about William Crawford's integrity. I dug deeper into his business dealings, uncovering discrepancies and shady practices that had gone unnoticed in the glittering facade of his public persona. A public event presented itself as the perfect opportunity. A charity gala hosted by William Crawford himself, attended by the elite of our community. I would turn the tables, using the very stage he had set to expose his true character and the extent of Emily's betrayal. It was a risky move, fraught with potential consequences. But the thought of Emily and William Crawford escaping unscathed, their reputations unblemished while I bore the scars of their betrayal, was unbearable. I needed them to feel the sting of shame and humiliation that had consumed me since the day I discovered their affair. As I finalized the details of my plan, a sense of grim satisfaction settled over me. Revenge was not just a desire but a necessity, a cathartic release that promised to reclaim some semblance of justice in the wake of my shattered dreams. Armed with determination and a relentless drive for justice, I immersed myself in the task of gathering irrefutable evidence to expose Emily and William Crawford. Every spare moment was dedicated to unraveling their deceit, piecing together a mosaic of betrayal that would lay bare the truth for all to see. I delved into Emily's phone records, meticulously documenting every call and text message exchanged between her and William Crawford. The conversations revealed a web of deceit woven with carelessness, their words betraying the depth of their illicit relationship. Late nights were spent poring over emails and social media interactions, tracing the digital breadcrumbs that led to clandestine meetings and secret rendezvous. Each piece of evidence strengthened my resolve, driving me forward with a singular purpose: to shatter the illusion of their innocence. I enlisted the help of a private investigator, a seasoned professional who specialized in uncovering hidden truths. Together, we combed through financial records and travel itineraries, uncovering transactions and movements that painted a damning picture of Emily's infidelity and William Crawford's manipulation. The investigators' findings were a revelation, confirming my worst suspicions with cold hard facts. Receipts for lavish gifts exchanged between Emily and William Crawford, hotel reservations booked under false names, and a paper trail of deceit that stretched back months, each piece of evidence a dagger aimed at the heart of their carefully constructed facade. But gathering evidence was only half the battle. I knew that exposing Emily and William Crawford required careful planning and impeccable timing. I consulted with legal advisors, mapping out a strategy to present my findings in a way that would leave no room for doubt or denial. The charity gala loomed on the horizon, a glittering affair that promised to be the stage for my reckoning. I reached out to trusted friends and allies, rallying support and laying the groundwork for what would be a meticulously orchestrated revelation. In the midst of my preparations, moments of doubt and hesitation crept in. Was I taking it too far? Would exposing Emily and William Crawford only serve to further tarnish our family's reputation and cause irreparable harm to our children? But then I would remember the pain in my heart, the betrayal etched into every fiber of my being. Emily's choice had shattered our family, leaving scars that ran deep. William Crawford had manipulated her vulnerabilities, preying upon her insecurities for his own selfish gain. No, I reasoned with myself. They deserved to face the consequences of their actions. The truth needed to be brought to light, not just for my own healing but for the sake of justice and accountability. And so, with resolve hardened like steel, I pressed forward. The evidence was gathered, the plan set in motion. The countdown to the gala had begun, and with it, the promise of redemption and closure in the face of betrayal. The night of the charity gala arrived with an air of anticipation and tension that crackled like electricity in the air. Guests arrived in their finest attire, the ballroom adorned with shimmering decorations, and the promise of philanthropy mingling with social prestige. For me, however, the gala held a different significance. It was the culmination of weeks of meticulous planning and gathering evidence. A carefully orchestrated trap set to expose Emily and William Crawford's betrayal to the world. I arrived early, my heart pounding with a mixture of nerves and determination. The venue buzzed with conversation and laughter, masks of civility masking hidden agendas and private ambitions. I navigated the crowd with a calm facade, exchanging pleasantries with acquaintances and business associates while my mind raced with the impending revelation. I had strategically placed myself near the stage, ensuring a clear view of the proceedings. The program began with speeches and presentations highlighting the charitable efforts supported by William Crawford's philanthropy. Applause filled the room, accolades showered upon him like confetti. As the evening progressed, I observed Emily and William Crawford moving through the crowd, their demeanor confident and assured. They mingled effortlessly, their smiles a facade that belied the storm brewing beneath the surface. The moment I had been waiting for finally arrived, the announcement of William Crawford's keynote address. Guests settled into their seats, their attention focused on the man of the hour as he took the stage, radiating charm and authority. It was my cue. With practiced composure, I rose from my seat and approached the podium, a hush falling over the room as all eyes turned toward me. William Crawford's expression shifted imperceptibly, a flicker of unease crossing his features as he recognized me. "Ladies and gentlemen," I began, my voice steady despite the turmoil within. "Thank you for your attention. I apologize for interrupting this evening's festivities, but there are matters that demand our immediate attention." I paused, allowing the weight of my words to settle over the room. Emily's eyes widened with disbelief, her hand trembling at her side. William Crawford's facade cracked, replaced by a mask of apprehension and confusion. "I have evidence," I continued, each word carefully measured. "Evidence that reveals a betrayal of trust, a deception that has torn apart lives and families." I turned to face the audience, my gaze sweeping across their faces, some curious, others wary. "Emily," I said, my voice cutting through the silence, "you stood before me and vowed to honor and cherish our marriage. Yet behind my back you chose to betray that vow with William Crawford." Gasps of shock and disbelief rippled through the room, mingling with murmurs of speculation. Emily's face drained of color, her eyes pleading for understanding that I could no longer give. "And you, William Crawford," I continued, my voice unwavering. "You used your wealth and influence to manipulate my wife, exploiting her vulnerabilities for your own selfish gain." The room buzzed with tension, the atmosphere thick with accusation and revelation. Emily stood frozen, her mask of composure shattered. William Crawford's attempt at maintaining his facade faltered, his eyes darting around the room in search of escape. "I have the evidence to prove it," I declared, my voice echoing with authority. "Phone records, emails, financial transactions, they all tell the story of your betrayal." With that, I turned to the projector screen behind me, where slides of incriminating evidence began to flicker to life. Messages exchanged in the dead of night, purchases made with shared accounts, and photographs of Emily and William Crawford together, each image a damning testament to their deceit. The room erupted into chaos. Voices raised in disbelief and indignation. Emily stood before me, her tears flowing freely, her apologies lost amidst the cacophony of accusations and recriminations. As the truth unfolded before them, I felt a surge of mixed emotions, vindication mingled with sorrow, satisfaction tempered by the wreckage of our shattered lives. The trap had been set, and now the consequences would unfold with a force beyond my control. The air in the gala hall was thick with tension, charged with disbelief and shock as the evidence of Emily's betrayal and William Crawford's manipulation unfolded before the gathered audience. Gasps and murmurs spread like wildfire through the room, eyes wide with realization as they witnessed the unraveling of carefully crafted facades. Emily stood frozen, her hands trembling at her sides, tears streaming down her cheeks. Her attempts to speak were drowned out by the murmurs of the crowd, their voices a chorus of condemnation and sympathy alike. William Crawford, once the epitome of charm and confidence, now appeared small and vulnerable under the weight of exposed truth. His attempts at maintaining composure faltered, his gaze flickering between me and the damning evidence projected for all to see. "I trusted you," I addressed Emily, my voice cutting through the tumultuous atmosphere. "I believed in our vows, in our commitment to each other. But you chose to betray that trust." My words hung heavy in the air, a painful reminder of the shattered dreams and promises that lay scattered at our feet. Emily's silence spoke volumes, her face a mask of guilt and regret as she faced the consequences of her actions. "And you," I turned to William Crawford, my tone laced with accusation. "You exploited her vulnerabilities, using your wealth and influence to manipulate her for your own gain." The projector screen continued to flicker with damning evidence. Text messages exchanged in secrecy, financial transactions that painted a picture of deceit. Photographs capturing stolen moments of intimacy between Emily and William Crawford. The room buzzed with indignation and disbelief, emotions swirling like a tempest around us. Friends and acquaintances whispered amongst themselves, casting judgment and sympathy in equal measure. The gala, once a celebration of philanthropy, had become a theater of scandal and shame. "I'm sorry," Emily finally managed to choke out, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm so sorry, James, I never meant." Her words were lost amidst the cacophony of voices, the weight of her apology lost in the sea of anger and betrayal that surrounded us. The truth had been laid bare, the consequences of their actions now irreversible. William Crawford, realizing the futility of denial, attempted to salvage what remained of his reputation. "This is a misunderstanding," he began, his voice strained with desperation. "I never intended." But his words fell on deaf ears, drowned out by the swell of condemnation that rose against him. The walls of privilege and power that had shielded him from accountability now crumbled under the weight of undeniable truth. As the gala hall descended into chaos, I felt a mixture of emotions, a bitter satisfaction mingled with a profound sadness. The betrayal had ripped apart our family, leaving wounds that would take years to heal. But in exposing the truth, I had reclaimed a measure of justice and closure in the face of heartbreak and deceit. Emily stood before me, her eyes pleading for forgiveness that I could no longer give. The revelation had shattered the illusion of our once happy life, leaving us standing on opposite sides of a chasm too deep to bridge. The consequences of that night would ripple through our lives, forever altering the course of our futures. But as I looked around the gala hall filled with faces both familiar and distant, I knew that the truth had finally been set free, no longer hidden beneath the veil of deception and betrayal. In the aftermath of the gala, the fallout from the revelation reverberated through our lives with a relentless intensity. News of Emily's affair with William Crawford spread like wildfire through our community, leaving a trail of gossip and judgment in its wake. Friends and acquaintances reached out with expressions of shock and sympathy, their words laced with underlying curiosity and judgment. Some offered support while others withdrew into uncomfortable silence, unsure of how to navigate the complexities of our shattered marriage. Social media buzzed with speculation and commentary, fueled by rumors and half-truths that distorted the reality of our situation. Photographs from the gala circulated online, capturing moments of confrontation and revelation that painted a stark portrait of our private turmoil made public. For Emily and me, the days that followed were a blur of emotional turmoil and painful introspection. We faced a barrage of questions and accusations, each inquiry a reminder of the trust we had lost and the wounds that now festered between us. I struggled to shield our children, Tommy and Lily, from the harsh spotlight of public scrutiny. They were too young to understand the complexities of adult betrayal. Their innocence a fragile barrier against the harsh realities of our fractured family. Legal proceedings loomed on the horizon, a daunting prospect that threatened to further unravel our lives. Divorce papers were filed, negotiations over custody and financial settlements unfolding amidst the backdrop of our shattered marriage. Emily retreated into herself, grappling with guilt and regret that weighed heavily on her shoulders. She sought solace in therapy, attempting to confront the demons that had driven her into the arms of another man and torn our family apart. As for me, I wrestled with a maelstrom of emotions, anger, sadness, and a profound sense of loss that threatened to consume me. The betrayal had shattered the foundation of trust upon which our marriage had been built, leaving me adrift in a sea of uncertainty and heartache. Yet amid the turmoil, a flicker of hope remained. A hope for healing, for forgiveness, and for a future where the wounds of betrayal might one day fade. But the road ahead would be long and arduous, paved with difficult choices and painful reckonings. Through it all, I clung to the love I still held for Emily, tempered by the harsh realities of her betrayal. Our marriage had been fractured, but perhaps, with time and introspection, it could be rebuilt into something stronger and more resilient. But for now, we navigated the aftermath of the gala, our lives forever altered by the consequences of our choices and the revelation that had torn apart the fabric of our once happy home. Navigating the tumultuous aftermath of the gala, legal actions loomed large on the horizon, casting a shadow of uncertainty over our fractured lives. The revelations of Emily's affair with William Crawford had not only shattered our marriage, but also set in motion a series of legal proceedings that would determine the future of our family. With divorce papers filed, the once shared dreams and intertwined lives were now reduced to negotiations over custody, financial settlements, and the division of assets. Lawyers became our reluctant guides through the labyrinthine complexities of family law, their voices a steady hum of practicality amidst the emotional storm raging within us. I consulted with legal advisors, seeking guidance on how best to protect our children's interests amidst the turmoil of separation. Custody arrangements became a delicate balancing act, navigating the emotional needs of Tommy and Lily, while grappling with the bitter realities of betrayal and loss. Emily and I sat across from each other in sterile conference rooms, our conversations strained with unspoken accusations and regrets. Mediation sessions offered a forum for negotiation, attempting to find common ground amidst the wreckage of our shattered marriage. For Emily, the legal proceedings were a sobering reckoning with the consequences of her actions. She faced the prospect of losing custody of Tommy and Lily, her tears a painful testament to the price of her betrayal. "I never meant to hurt them," she whispered during one fraught session, her voice raw with anguish. I lost myself." Her words cut through me like a knife, a reminder of the complex emotions that lay beneath the surface of her infidelity. I struggled to reconcile the woman I had loved with the person who had chosen to betray our vows. Legal battles over financial settlements added another layer of complexity to our already strained relationship. The division of assets became a contentious point of contention, each negotiation fraught with the bitter residue of broken trust and shattered dreams. Through it all, I tried to shield Tommy and Lily from the harsh realities of our legal battles, their innocence a fragile beacon of hope amidst the storm. Family therapy sessions offered a safe space for them to express their confusion and pain, their young voices a poignant reminder of the collateral damage wrought by Emily's betrayal. As the legal proceedings dragged on, I found myself grappling with a profound sense of loss and disillusionment. Our once happy family had been torn apart by the consequences of Emily's choices, leaving scars that would take years to heal. Yet amid the chaos of legal battles and emotional turmoil, a glimmer of resilience emerged. The love I still held for Emily, despite everything, whispered of a future where forgiveness and healing might one day take root. But for now, we navigated the labyrinth of legal actions, our lives entwined in a dance of negotiation and compromise, seeking closure and a semblance of peace amidst the wreckage of our shattered marriage. As the legal proceedings continued to unfold, Emily's demeanor shifted from remorseful to desperate. The reality of losing custody of Tommy and Lily loomed large, casting a shadow of fear and uncertainty over her already fractured life. She oscillated between moments of tearful regret and defiant resolve, grappling with the consequences of her betrayal and the potential loss of her children. The weight of her actions pressed down on her shoulders, a heavy burden that threatened to crush her spirit. In quiet moments when the lawyers were not present and the facade of composure slipped away, Emily broke down. Her tears were a torrent of anguish and self-loathing, a raw expression of the pain she had caused and the regret that now consumed her. "I never meant for any of this to happen," she confessed during one emotional outburst, her voice trembling with emotion. "I loved Tommy and Lily more than anything. I would do anything to make things right." Her desperation was palpable, a stark contrast to the confident facade she had once projected. She clung to the hope of reconciliation, despite the fractured trust and irreparable damage wrought by her affair with William Crawford. I struggled to reconcile her words with the harsh realities of our shattered marriage. The betrayal had fractured our family, leaving wounds that ran deep and emotions that simmered beneath the surface like a dormant volcano. Yet amid Emily's desperation, a glimmer of hope emerged. Beneath the layers of regret and sorrow, I sensed a genuine desire to repair the damage she had caused. She attended therapy sessions diligently, seeking to understand the root causes of her infidelity, and to confront the demons that had driven her into the arms of another man. But forgiveness was not easily granted. The wounds of betrayal were still raw, the pain of shattered trust a constant presence in our strained interactions. I struggled to maintain a sense of compassion amidst the turmoil, torn between the love I still held for Emily and the profound sense of betrayal that had reshaped our lives. As the legal battles waged on, Emily's desperation grew more pronounced. She sought solace in support groups and counseling sessions, attempting to find redemption amidst the wreckage of our shattered marriage. Yet for all her efforts, the road to reconciliation remained fraught with obstacles. Custody negotiations continued to be a point of contention. Each discussion a painful reminder of the irreparable damage caused by her affair. Through it all, I grappled with conflicting emotions. A desire for closure and healing, tempered by the scars of betrayal that marked our fractured family. Emily's desperation became a poignant reminder of the complexities of love and forgiveness, a testament to the enduring hope that even in the face of betrayal, redemption might one day be found. As the legal and personal ramifications of the Gala revelation unfolded, William Crawford found himself ensnared in a web of consequences that threatened to unravel the carefully cultivated image of success and influence he had projected for years. The scandal surrounding his affair with Emily had cast a shadow over his reputation, tarnishing the veneer of respectability that had shielded him from scrutiny. Rumors swirled through social circles and business networks, whispers of deceit and manipulation that threatened to undermine his standing in the community. Public opinion turned against him, fueled by the damning evidence presented at the gala and subsequent media coverage. What had once been admiration and envy now morphed into suspicion and disdain, as people questioned the integrity of a man who had preyed upon the vulnerabilities of another's marriage. Business dealings faltered as clients and partners distanced themselves from the tarnished brand of William Crawford. Deals that had once seemed assured now hung in limbo, as trust eroded and doubts grew about his character and reliability. Legal repercussions loomed on the horizon, as investigations into his financial practices and personal conduct gained momentum. Audits uncovered discrepancies and questionable transactions that painted a picture of ethical lapses and financial impropriety. The once powerful facade of William Crawford crumbled under the weight of mounting evidence and public scrutiny. He became a pariah in social circles, invitations to prestigious events and gatherings dwindling as his reputation became synonymous with scandal and betrayal. In private, William faced a reckoning of his own making. He grappled with the consequences of his actions, the repercussions rippling through his personal and professional life with relentless force. "I never meant for this to happen," he confided during a rare moment of vulnerability, his voice tinged with regret. "I thought I could have it all, without considering the cost." But apologies and regrets offered little solace in the face of the damage he had wrought. The fallout from his affair with Emily had left a trail of destruction in its wake, affecting not only his own life but also those of everyone entangled in the web of deceit and betrayal. As legal battles mounted and public opinion turned against him, William's downfall served as a cautionary tale of the consequences of arrogance and moral compromise. He became a symbol of hubris undone, a cautionary tale whispered in the corridors of power and influence. For Emily and me, William's downfall offered a bitter sense of vindication amidst the wreckage of our shattered lives. His exposure and subsequent decline served as a reminder that actions have consequences, and that the pursuit of selfish desires often leads to a reckoning that cannot be escaped. But amid the chaos and uncertainty, a fragile hope emerged. As we navigated the aftermath of William's downfall, Emily and I found ourselves drawn together by shared pain and a tentative desire for healing. The road ahead remained uncertain, but in the shadow of William Crawford's downfall, there existed the possibility of rebuilding our fractured family and reclaiming a sense of peace and redemption. The aftermath of the scandal and legal battles left me grappling with the tumult of emotions, anger, betrayal, and a deep sense of loss that threatened to consume me. Yet amidst the chaos, a glimmer of hope emerged, a possibility of healing and renewal after the devastation of Emily's affair with William Crawford. I immersed myself in therapy, seeking to untangle the knots of hurt and resentment that had taken root in my heart. Each session was a journey into the depths of my own pain, confronting the wounds of betrayal and acknowledging the scars they had left behind. Through introspection and self-reflection, I began to understand that healing would not come from vengeance or retribution. It would come from within, from the courage to confront my emotions and embrace the possibility of forgiveness. Family and friends became pillars of support during this challenging time, offering empathy and understanding as I navigated the complexities of rebuilding my life. Their presence was a source of comfort amidst the turmoil, reminding me that I was not alone in my journey towards healing. I poured myself into work, finding solace in the rhythm of construction projects and the satisfaction of tangible accomplishments. The physical labor offered a temporary respite from the emotional upheaval, grounding me in the present moment and providing a sense of purpose. Yet healing was not a linear process. There were moments of regression, waves of grief and anger that threatened to pull me under once more. The scars of betrayal ran deep, their echoes reverberating through my thoughts and dreams. In those moments I turned to writing as a form of catharsis, pouring my raw emotions onto the page in an effort to make sense of the chaos within. The words became a lifeline, a means of expressing the turmoil and finding clarity amidst the storm. Slowly, imperceptibly, the wounds began to heal. Forgiveness, though elusive at first, started to take root, a gradual acceptance of the imperfections and frailties that defined our shared humanity. I realized that holding on to anger and resentment would only prolong my own suffering. Emily's own journey towards redemption mirrored my own. Through therapy and soul-searching, she confronted the choices that had led to her betrayal and sought to atone for the pain she had caused. Her efforts were a testament to her determination to rebuild trust and repair the fractured bonds of our family. As the days turned into weeks and months, I found moments of peace amidst the chaos, a quiet acceptance of the past and a tentative hope for the future. The scars of betrayal would always be a part of me, but they no longer defined me. Healing was a gradual unfolding, a process of reclaiming my sense of self and rediscovering the resilience that had carried me through the darkest moments of my life. In the quiet moments of reflection, I began to glimpse a path forward, a future shaped not by the pain of the past, but by the strength found in forgiveness and the possibility of new beginnings. The journey through betrayal, heartache, and redemption had been arduous, marked by moments of despair and glimmers of hope. As time passed, Emily and I navigated the complexities of rebuilding our lives and healing the wounds inflicted by her affair with William Crawford. Therapy became a cornerstone of our journey, providing a safe space to confront our pain and explore the path towards forgiveness. Through countless sessions, we unearthed buried emotions and confronted uncomfortable truths, laying bare the fractures in our marriage and the vulnerabilities that had been exploited. Slowly, Emily and I began to communicate again, not just as co-parents to Tommy and Lily, but as two individuals striving to rebuild trust and understanding. Our conversations were raw and honest, stripped of pretense and defenses, as we worked towards a fragile reconciliation. The legal battles that had once consumed our lives reached a conclusion, with custody arrangements and financial settlements finalized. While the scars of betrayal remained, we found a sense of closure in the resolution of legal matters, a symbolic step towards moving forward. Our children, resilient in their own way, became the beacon of hope that guided us through the darkest moments. Tommy and Lily, though scarred by the upheaval in their young lives, found comfort in the renewed sense of stability and unity between their parents. William Crawford's downfall served as a cautionary tale, a reminder of the consequences of moral compromise and the fragility of personal integrity. His absence from our lives marked a definitive end to a chapter of deceit and manipulation, allowing us to focus on rebuilding our fractured family. In the quiet moments of reflection, I found myself contemplating the journey that had brought us to this point. The wounds of betrayal had left their mark, but they had also taught me about the resilience of the human spirit and the transformative power of forgiveness. Emily and I stood together, facing the future with a cautious optimism born from our shared experiences. Our love, though scarred and weathered by the storm, had proven stronger than the pain that had threatened to tear us apart. As we watched Tommy and Lily play in the backyard one sunny afternoon, laughter echoing through the air, I felt a sense of peace settle over me. The road to closure had been long and fraught with challenges, but we had emerged on the other side, stronger, wiser, and ready to embrace the possibilities of a new beginning. The scars of betrayal would always be a part of our story, but they no longer defined us. We had found closure in forgiveness, in the healing of wounds both seen and unseen, and in the quiet moments of grace that had illuminated our journey towards redemption. And as the sun set on our tumultuous past, I knew that the future held promise. A future shaped by the lessons learned, the love rediscovered, and the resilience that had carried us through to this moment of closure.